ultimately, his hope is that he'll be able to convince them to, in turn, put pressure on the Democrat politicians who are resisting his call for that $5.7 billion to build the wall. He wants the narrative to shift from blaming him for the government shutdown to blaming those Democrats who are now in control of the House of Representatives. And he believes that going directly to the public via this televised address is the best way of doing that. It's part of a two-pronged strategy, because on Thursday he'll actually be travelling down to the border itself, down to Mexico, to meet border officials and to show that his concern in person. But there's a lot to play for here, because at the moment the two sides are very much at loggerheads. There's no clear way through this impasse. Trump is hoping that this tactic will break that logjam.
So it's going to be basically who's going to be holding the hot potato in this blame game. But could this be a make or break situation for Donald Trump? Because when we go back to the campaign period, he sort of campaigned himself as a master negotiator, and this whole border wall issue was at the centerpiece of it all, wasn't it?
Well, very much so. The border wall is an article of faith for Donald Trump. As you say, it's part of his election campaign. He's never desisted from saying this wall is needed. It's something he's returned to time after time. And he's determined that this will be part of his legacy, a physical barrier along the US-Mexico border. The problem is, in terms of doing a deal, that's not how the Democrats see it, because whatever he offers to them, they're insisting that they, in principle, will not accept such a physical barrier across the border, which will prevent, in many cases, legitimate asylum seekers gaining entry into the United States. So it's very difficult to see where this is going to go, and it'll be very interesting to see what sort of fallout there is after tonight's address.
So it's a no-go for the Democrats in terms of a physical concrete or steel wall, but what can the president sort of offer to lure in the Democrats to the negotiating table, sort of to end this partial government shutdown, which is almost ready to enter its 18th day?
Well, they are already negotiating, and there were negotiations over the weekend. Trump himself has met with senior Democrats twice in the past few days. So it's not that there's not a willingness to negotiate. It's just that the Democrats are only prepared to negotiate on money for border security in general, for more officials, for example. They're not prepared to give money for an actual wall, and that's the sticking point. So if Trump decides suddenly that the wall itself is not needed, but there are other ways of beefing up security on the border, then they might get somewhere. But Trump has probably boxed himself into a corner as far as that's concerned. He's made it clear he wants a wall. Anything less now will be seen as a betrayal by his hardline supporters.